Hello students, I am Isha Mandirata, and in today's video we are going to discuss the topics properties of ultrasonic waves and one of the generation methods, that is magnetostriction method of generating ultrasonic waves. So let's just first start with what ultrasonic waves are. So ultrasonic waves are actually sound waves, and whenever we hear the term sound, we should know that this is a term which is related to acoustics, that is a branch of physics which helps us study the generation and propagation of sound. So coming back to what ultrasonic waves are sound waves which have a frequency greater than 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz. Now these waves, they are inaudible to human ears. We as human beings cannot hear these waves. Let's see what are sound waves. Now coming on to, once we have discussed what are ultrasonic waves, they are a type of sound waves. So next we should know what do you mean by a sound wave. So coming on to sound wave, it is a vibration which propagates as a longitudinal wave through a transmission medium. So one thing you can say from this, that sound needs a medium to propagate. Next, sound is actually a vibration. Whenever you have a vibration, we say that sound is generated. And suppose there is a source of sound from where the sound is generated, and there is a detector. So from source to detector, there has to be a medium, and hence I can say that sound waves cannot propagate in vacuum. They need a medium, be it air, any other material or water. This is how sound is actually moving in the form of a longitudinal wave. Now what is a longitudinal wave? A longitudinal wave is a wave which moves in the form of rarefaction and compression. What is compression? Where all the particles of medium are compressed, and then this is the compression, then they expand, then they compress, then they expand, and this is how the propagation of sound waves from source to detector takes place. So this was a brief of sound waves. Next, we'll discuss the properties of ultrasonic waves. The first property of ultrasonic waves is that they have a frequency which is greater than 20 kilohertz. As we have just now seen that they are ultrasonic waves, they are sound waves which have a frequency greater than 20,000 hertz. Their wavelength is very small, so they have a high penetration power. Now what do you mean by a low wavelength? You know that frequency and wavelength are inversely related to each other. When I am saying that they have a very high frequency, that means their wavelength is very, very small. And if the wavelength is very, very small, wavelength means it is the distance between two crests or two troughs, which is denoted by lambda. So if the wavelength is very, very small, they can penetrate in any material to a great extent. That means they have a higher penetration power. Next, they can travel along long distances as a high directional beam. What do you mean by the term high directional beam? High directional beam means they do not spread. Whatever is the source, from the source they almost travel as a parallel beam, and they do not spread or scatter in the medium. So they are known as a highly directional beam, and because of this property, ultrasonic waves are used in many applications also. They have a very high energy content. Now all the molecules together, now they propagate as a vibration. That means they create a disturbance in the medium, and this is how they propagate. Because of high directionality, we say that the energy loss is less, and hence they have a high energy content. Next, the speed of propagation will increase with the increase in frequency. Higher the frequency, higher is the speed of ultrasonic waves propagating in the medium. Obviously, it also depends on the type of medium and the density of medium as well. So these were the properties of ultrasonic waves. Now I am going to discuss the generation methods of ultrasonic waves, and in today's video we are going to discuss one of the generation methods, that is magnetostriction effect and the magnetostriction oscillator. Let's see what is the meaning of magnetostriction. This was the effect which was identified by James Joule, and this effect was observed in the sample of nickel Now, nickel is known as a ferromagnetic material, which is generally used in the terms of a permanent magnet. What is a ferromagnetic material? It is a type of magnetic material which has parallel dipoles and which is permanently magnetized. It is used as a permanent magnet. Moving ahead, let's see what magnetostriction property is. So this is a property of ferromagnetic materials which causes them to change their shape when they are subjected to a magnetic field. With the presence of magnetic field, and specifically if I say alternating magnetic field, the shape of the ferromagnetic material can change, and this is the effect which is used for the generation of ultrasonic waves. Let's see what exactly this statement means. So here in the diagram you can just see that there is a simple ferromagnetic rod. When I use the word ferromagnet, that means it is a permanent magnet. It has a north pole and a south pole. And you can see in the diagram that there is a magnetic field shown by N and S. So if I alternate this magnetic field, if I just change it rapidly, you can see by the dotted lines that the dimensions of the rod have changed. That means I can say the rod expands and contracts with the help of this alternating magnetic field. Let's have a look at what exactly happens to the ferromagnetic material. So in this animation, you can see that the arrow shows north and south. That means alternating magnetic field, and in between you can see that the material is expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. That means the dimensions of the material are changing. Coming on to what magnetostriction effect is. So the definition of magnetostriction effect. When a ferromagnetic material in the form of a rod, you have to take the material in the form of a rod or a bar, it is subjected to an alternating magnetic field which should be parallel to its length. So suppose this is the rod, this should be the magnetic field. They both should be parallel to each other. The rod undergoes alternate contractions and expansions at a frequency which is equal to the frequency of applied magnetic field. So if you are alternating the magnetic field at a very high frequency, the rod will also expand and contract at the same frequency. And if the rod is vibrating with this frequency in the nearby space, that is air, it is creating vibrations which are of very high frequency, and this is how we say that ultrasonic waves are generated. But I say that practically if you hold a ferromagnetic rod and you alternate magnetic field manually, it's not possible. So for that we need an oscillator, we need a circuit which automatically alternates the magnetic fields, and thus it gives us ultrasonic waves. So now we'll discuss what a magnetostriction oscillator is. Oscillator is actually a circuit which will generate ultrasonic waves on its own in a ferromagnetic material. Magnetostriction oscillator is an oscillator, electrical oscillator, in which the frequency is controlled by mechanical vibrations induced in the body with the help of magnetostriction effect. So in this oscillator, we are actually using the magnetostriction effect which we have observed in a ferromagnetic material. Coming on to the construction of what the magnetostriction oscillator is. So in this oscillator, we require a ferromagnetic rod AB which is clamped in the center. Now, why is it necessary to clamp the rod in the center? Because if you clamp it at both the edges, it won't be able to expand. And you cannot keep it floating in air. So that is the reason the rod is clamped exactly in the center. Next, there is a coil L1. Now, if I am using the word coil, means it's a basic inductor. So coil L1 is there on the right hand side of the rod, which is wound with the help of a variable capacitor. So this coil L1 along with the capacitor forms an LC circuit, or I would say it forms a collector tuned oscillator. I'll be discussing the working shortly. Coil L2. So I need two coils. Obviously two coils are needed because we need an alternating magnetic field. So there is a coil L2 which is on the left hand side of the rod, and this coil L2 is connected to the base of the transistor, and this coil L2 forms the feedback loop. So I would brief that we have coil L1 in parallel to a variable capacitor, and this connection, this LC oscillator, is connected between the collector and emitter of a transistor. Then we have a coil L2 on the left hand side that is connected between the base and the emitter of the transistor. In both the cases, the emitter is common, so I say it is a common emitter configuration. Clear? Next, let's see the construction with the help of a proper diagram. In this, you can see a rod AB which is clamped in the center. So, clamping is also shown in the diagram. Then you can see a coil L1 with a variable capacitor, and this is connected to a milliammeter. There is a battery which is a variable battery, and this entire LC oscillator is connected between the collector and emitter of the transistor as shown in the diagram. Then there is a coil L2 which is connected between base and emitter. Clear? And you can see in the diagram that ultrasonic waves are being generated from both the edges. Why? Because we are using a ferromagnetic rod, and this rod is going to expand and contract. And how can we control this expansion contraction frequency? We can control it because we are using a variable capacitor here. So this LC oscillator is actually the controlling part. So what I'll do is I'll first explain you the working with the help of this diagram, and then point wise we'll see how the magnetostriction oscillator exactly works. Now in this diagram you can see that there is a variable battery. So when the variable battery is switched on, though I have a variable battery, I suppose set a particular voltage and I switch on the battery. The current starts flowing. The current starts flowing in the upward direction, and this current branches where there is a junction of capacitor and inductor. So due to this current, there will be a positive charge on the right plate of the capacitor, and the capacitor will start charging. Also, this current is flowing through the coil L1, which will magnetize the coil L1. So there will be a particular polarity of coil L1, and this in turn leads to the magnetization of the rod. Because what we have done is we have taken a rod which is a ferromagnetic material, and we have wound a coil on the rod, making it an electromagnet. So due to the current, the rod, one side of the rod is getting magnetized, and simultaneously the capacitor is also charging. Now once the capacitor completely charges and the rod is magnetized and the current becomes constant, now what happens? The moment the current becomes constant, the capacitor starts discharging through the same coil, and during the discharging of the capacitor, the polarity of the coil L1 changes. So what I was trying to explain, suppose when I switch on the battery and current starts flowing, suppose I say that L1 charges positively with north polarity, the capacitor is also charging. So opposite side of the rod is south. Now once the capacitor is completely charged and it starts discharging, through the coil L1, and when it starts discharging through the coil L1, the polarity will swap. Getting it? So if L1 is becoming south, L2 will become north. And this feedback of L2 becoming north or south is given between the base and emitter. So I would just brief the working again, that I switch on the battery, current starts flowing, this is my first step. Current makes the current starts the charging of capacitor, and it magnetizes one part of the rod. At that time, L2, what is the feedback L2 is giving? There is still a potential barrier between the base and emitter. So once the current becomes constant, everything is stable. At that time, the capacitor starts discharging through the coil, giving a feedback from the feedback loop. So this is how we get an alternating magnetic field effect with the help of a ferromagnetic rod. Why do we use a variable capacitor? To adjust the frequency of the desired range. In the working step by step, when the battery is switched on, the resonant circuit L1C1, it sets up a current of a particular frequency, say F1. This is the frequency 1 upon 2 pi under root L1C1. This is nothing but the frequency of an LC oscillator. Coming on to the next point, this current flowing through the coil L1 produces an alternating magnetic field along the length of the nickel rod, that is a ferromagnetic material we have used. The result is that the rod starts vibrating due to magnetostriction effect. What is magnetostriction effect? Vibration of rod due to the alternating magnetic field. Now this frequency of vibrations can be given as F is equals to 1 upon 2L under root of Y by rho. Here L is known as the length of rod, Y is known as the Young's modulus of the rod, the ratio of stress upon strain, and rho is known as the density of the rod used. The capacitor C1 can be adjusted so that the frequency of oscillating circuit is equal to the natural frequency of rod, and hence resonance can take place. What do you mean by the word resonance? Resonance is a phenomena which is resulting due to matching of frequencies. Due to resonance, I say the rod vibrates longitudinally with maximum amplitude. So how is the rod vibrating? It is vibrating like this. So with maximum amplitude, and it generates ultrasonic waves of frequency from its end. Now, because of the variable capacitor, now why do we choose a variable capacitor and not a variable inductor? Because in the circuit, once the circuit is designed, it is not possible for us to unwind the coil or wound the coil again. So what do? Is we simply take a variable capacitor, because we know that frequency is 1 upon 2 pi under root LC. So if C is changed, the frequency can be changed according to this frequency. So I would say that resonance is the condition when my ultrasonic waves are produced. And what will be the condition at this resonance? The condition where the two frequencies match. Which are the two frequencies we are talking about? We are discussing about when frequency of vibration is equal to the natural frequency of applied field. We say that ultrasonic waves are generated. So F is equals to 1 upon 2 pi under root L1 C1 should be equal to 1 upon 2L under root of Y by rho. When these two frequencies match, that is when resonance takes place. At that time, I say that ultrasonic waves are generated from the end of the rod. So this was the construction and working of a magnetostriction oscillator. Next, I'll discuss the merits or the advantages. So it's a low-cost oscillator. It simply requires a ferromagnetic rod. It requires two coils, a capacitor, a battery. So minimum setup required. Design of oscillator is simple. At lower frequencies, larger output is possible. Next, frequency ranging from 100 Hz to 3000 kHz. 3000 kHz means up till 3 MHz we can generate frequencies with the help of this magnetostriction oscillator. Now let's discuss some points which are related to the demerits or the disadvantages of this oscillator. So this cannot generate frequencies which are above 3000 kHz, because you have seen the formula that in this formula frequency F is inversely proportional to length of rod. So if I take the length of rod very small, I would get very high frequency. But if the length of rod is very small, how will I wind the two coils? So there is a limitation, and due to this limitation, frequencies of not more than 3 MHz can be achieved. Generated frequency depends upon temperature. Why? Because it is a magnetic material. It uses a magnetic material which changes its magnetism depending upon the temperature. And lastly, there can be a loss due to hysteresis. Hysteresis is induced when the magnetization and demagnetization of the material are not same. The magnetization and the demagnetization do not follow the same path. That means the way it had magnetized, the same way it won't demagnetize, and that leads to hysteresis. And such a loss is always possible when we use a magnetic material. Today, we have discussed what are sound waves, particularly what are ultrasonic waves, some properties of ultrasonic waves, and then we have studied one of the generation methods of ultrasonic waves, that is magnetostriction method, with the help of a ferromagnetic rod, its merits and demerits. Hope you have understood all the topics I explained you in today's video. Thank you.